Congratulations on an incredible, exciting, thrilling, fun episode. Now, particularly enjoyed the shower scenes. I want to start with that important bit.
Yeah.
You two naked. How were they? How was it filming those moments?
Well, we were only naked once, and we were used to each other. We're used to each other's nakedness anyway.
What was weird was I was naked.
Yeah.
Really weird.
There's long, they're long writing days.
Yeah.
Where you've got to find your ways to perk yourselves up. But then the other one, when we're in the shower, we weren't naked because
I don't know if it's our place to.
Yeah, it is.
No, that's
Tell
I
it,
think
tell
it's a good thing. I think we weren't naked because obviously the shot is from here up.
Yeah.
But Bertie Carvel, who plays Nathan Cross, is, firstly, a phenomenal actor and one of the best and most committed actors in the land. And he's so sort of in character all the time, that even though Jim kept telling him that the shot is from here up, he just said, "No, man. If I'm in the shower, I'm in the shower, man." And he's just, and he's from Hove, or whatever, and really, put the whole prize out there for everyone. We were face to face, so
that's brilliant. I've met Bertie Carvel. He's quite a posh man, isn't he?
Very posh. Yeah,
absolutely extraordinary.
He's dedicated to his craft.
Yeah, he used to live with my wife at university.
Oh wow.
Yeah, although she didn't know that he moved in. He just she was lived in a house with loads of other people, and one day. He'd just been staying over, and one day she saw him getting stuff out of his car, and she was like, "Sorry, Bertie, I know you stayed on the sofa last night, have you moved in?" And he went, "Well, yeah, I just thought you guys recorded it."
The point is, he doesn't do things by half.
Yes,
right.
He commits fully to everything, and he committed fully to the new scene.
And playing a neo-Nazi psychopath.
Yeah,
which,
he's a brilliant performance.
It is quite counterintuitive casting. Was it his intensity? That's what you can't. There was something intense about it. But
it's always been the thing with the show. Really, is we've always wanted the baddies to be baddies, and for you to feel like they're in genuine danger. Like sometimes when people come in and audition for the show, they will sort of come in trying to find.
Thinking they're in a comedy.
Yeah, and we would say it's not really
not funny,
a sitcom.
Guys.
It's not really a sitcom, and also we'd say if anyone's in a sitcom. It's just these two characters. It's very, the danger has to feel real and present and true, and then you believe in the story. Then you believe, God, they really might be in danger here.
Let's go to the whole kind of genesis of it. Matt, when you kind of when the two of you wrote the series, the 6 episodes, and it ended with the bomb under your car. Did you know at that point how you wanted to take it forward and on the whole moving them to America and switching their roles and all of that, or did you have to work out what you're going to do with the bomb under the car?
We had to work it out, and it was our version of the Sherlock problem. Yeah. Really, we'd thought for a long time that we would set an entire second series in prison, and we had this idea that they would ultimately get at the end of series 1. The twist would be that they are arrested for the murder of Nick Stevens. And that we'd set the second series in prison, and we had these ideas about how it would open with Phil with cornrows and gold teeth, and then you find out 5 minutes in that they've only been there for 1 day. And then we just felt when we were coming to the end of series 1 that actually we wanted a proper resolution and a happy ending, and that would involve getting Scarlett, getting her comeuppance and getting arrested for that murder. So then we came up with the bomb as the twist, and then we had to kind of work out where we would go after that.
I don't think it's a show that you can sort of reset, like in a sitcom sense. You can't do 6 episodes and then go, that would seem to work, let's just sort of do it again and have Sam and Phil back at work. And some more trouble comes their way. I think the only solution after lots of navel-gazing was we just have to actually continue. You can't just start again, you have to just continue. So we sort of hope in a way that if you've never seen the show before, you could watch all of series 1 and then just keep going and just watch these ones, and it just sort of keeps going. because you can't have these guys having gone through everything they went through before and then just start again. Like they've been through so much the first time around. So I guess the flip with the second series was they actually go out into danger, knowing that it's going to be. But they make the choice because of Linda and because of Lizzie. We're actually going to go out into this dangerous world, and so it's a little bit of a flip in that sense. So they're more the architects of their own problems this time around.
And when you decided to set it in an American situation with the two of you writing that, did you think, oh yeah, we're going to film it in a glamorous American location?
Yeah, I
We've got all-
well,
we've
it
got
was so
Hulu here as a
cold.
partner.
Series 1 was so cold. It was as cold, like I've never been as cold as we were shooting Series 1. That we were like, right, well if we're doing it again, let's set it in America, and that would be great. And then Jim said, well, we're going to shoot it in South Africa, and you go, oh okay, Cape Town, great, love it, yeah, love Cape Town. He goes, Johannesburg, and you go, right, that's not really what I had in mind, Jim. Staying in a compound that you can't leave because it's so dangerous. But yeah, it was a wonderful place to shoot. Actually, I mean, you can see that it afforded us such scope and scale, and it was a really, the crew were incredible. It was a really brilliant.
The problem is that, you know, we're supported so well by the channel, by BBC Two and by Hulu, and we're very fortunate in a lot of ways. But it's still a show that's made for a BBC Two comedy budget with some additional investment from Hulu. It's not even close to being a drama budget, you know. And so we have to figure out ways to be inventive about stuff. And so, unfortunately, yeah, we couldn't shoot for real in Texas because it would have added a zero to the end of the budget. But you know, BBC's been filming a few shows in South Africa. There's Our Girl and Bluestone 42, and there's that kind of experience there. And actually, we got way more from going there than we would have done if we'd shot the show actually for real in America. Yeah. And the locations we got in South Africa, this is a very odd thing to say, and I realise it's odd, are actually better, I think, than the real locations we would have shot in America. I don't know if you've ever tried to get permission to shoot in a prison. It's not personally. I know you spend a lot of time in prison, Boyd, but you've not filmed it. It's really hard to film in a prison, but certainly, can you imagine, you know, trying to get an American high security prison to let you film there? But
so is that a real prison in South Africa?
It's sort of 50%.
Yeah, but yeah, part of it was
the yard and all that stuff is Constitution Hill, which is the old women's prison in Johannesburg, which is, you know, it's amazing place, which very few people would, you know, have that opportunity to shoot there. The rest is a sort of combination of sets and other locations, but we just wouldn't have been able to do that in Texas. So, yeah.
What were the particular challenges of filming in South Africa? Apart from, was it scary, or was it?
No, it wasn't scary. It was never scary, actually. It's only those moments when you're.
It's only scary when you want to jump out on the way home and grab a few beers, and the driver says, "You stay in the car."
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there was the challenge. The challenge, there wasn't one particularly. I wouldn't say that the crews and everything were wonderful. It made it a wonderful environment to film in, and yeah, I think like Jim says, we felt very lucky to be able to shoot in such a way. And it's so strange sometimes because people sometimes, if they talk about the show, refer to it as like a sort of big budget comedy, and it's credit to Jim that just isn't the case. Like I don't think this costs. For like an hour of TV, I don't think it costs a penny more than an episode of Waking the Dead. And like, with all due respect to that show, I feel like it's shot on a canvas which looks and feels a lot more impressive than that, which was all we ever wanted at the start. All we ever, Matt and I talked about at the very start of it was, let's try and make a show with the ambition of the American shows that we were in love with at the time, that have those cliffhangers, that have those moments when you go, oh, I got to watch the next one, but take two characters from a sitcom world and put them and place them in it, you know. And I think this is the first time that Matt and I have ever seen it play as an hour, and yeah, I feel very, very proud of it.
It does look incredible, Jim. What are the tricks that you employ to to fool us into thinking this is a multi-million-dollar pound.
I don't know. I you know, I'm gonna probably get crucified for saying this, but you know, I think drama can be a very inefficient genre. You know, I think, and so can feature films, and that's my background is in features. And our only secret is really that we don't shoot anything that doesn't. Pretty much, we don't shoot anything that isn't in the show. So there's no like overshooting, like, oh, let's just shoot loads of stuff, see what works, figure it out in the edit. Like, I pretty much shoot to edit, so like I shoot stuff that I feel is going to make it in. You know, we're shooting 5 or 6 pages a day, which you just wouldn't do on a drama, even when you dream of doing on a drama. And we're just responsible, I suppose. That's the only way I can describe it. We just go, well, look, we just don't have the money and we don't have the time, but we want it to be as good as possible. And then on a sort of visual level, it's finding locations that are big and have scope and have depth. The cameras and the lenses that we shoot on. Telling everyone, all the heads of department and all the amazing crew that work on the show and all the posts that work on the show, and actually the cast to a certain extent, sort of saying, don't think of this as a comedy, think of it as a drama, approach it like a drama. The props, the graphic design, the music, the sound design, everything should feel like it's real world, not slightly heightened, but real world, rather than sitcom world. And I think the thing that very first started that was when you guys very first approached me in Series 1, was you pitched this idea of the car crash at the beginning of Series 1, and you were very much like, we want to do this car crash, we want to do it for real. And I think what I've always said to people is the comedy version of this show would be at the beginning of Series 1, Sam's walking down the road, the car skids past him, it flips out of shot, and you hear the crash, and a hubcap rolls back into frame. And quite understandably on a comedy budget, you'd be like, no, that's what we're going to do because we can't afford to flip a car. What we did was just go, no, let's just flip a car, like, why not? Let's just try and make it work.
And just take the risk of being able to do it once. And if it
on?
goes wrong, then we'll do the hubcap version, but let's
try for the best version.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about the tone, because it is quite bold, isn't it, to have flat-out comedy moments. I mean, there are jokes, there are lines, and then at the same time you've got, in this episode, you've got a guy being shot in the head, and that's quite a violent moment. You've got the very violent bit at the end with the eye and him being killed. So did you talk about that? That we're going to show the violent bits, and that'll be fine within the tone of the funny bits as well. It's a really hard thing, isn't it, to do comedy thriller, which I guess is, if you could.
I think we always wanted it to be interesting before it was funny. Do you know what I mean? Like we were just talking about it today actually, that the story wins out. Story has to be the first, and so with that comes, you have to sort of sacrifice some beats of comedy at points where
we definitely sometimes pull back on the comedy, I would say, to make sure that it feels
real. Like an interesting and coherent story that you would just care about them, I suppose. I think if you don't care about them, it sort of all goes for nothing, and you'd rather that than that you would laugh with them particularly.
I'd argue that it makes. I would argue, a bit biased, but I would argue that it makes it funnier. When the relief of it, when the drama and the stuff that's in relief to the comedy is real, and the jeopardy is real, and you feel like, yeah, these guys are going to do this because they want to get home and they want to see their mum. You know, especially if you've seen Series 1, you know what these guys are like. You know how they're going to react going into a situation, and so I think that we hope that makes it funnier.
It's also just instinctively, I think, the way that we write is that we don't really write jokes generally. If things pop up that seem like jokes, they're quite kind of by accident in a way, because we're just more drawn to details or character traits that make us giggle. So Phil's overconfidence that he would decide, yeah, I can sound American, and plunder headlong into an inappropriate accent. Just that's the stuff that just we're drawn to, really. And I think where it wouldn't work is if we were putting sort of setup and punchline stuff in there, which, to be honest, if we tried to do, we'd be bad at anyway, because it's just instinctively.
But there was a good Top Gear joke in it, though.
There is a well, thank you. That's one where it just falls out, and you go, oh, that's actually sort of that's a joke. That's a kind of structured joke. quite by accident.
Right. I was going to ask about the Christmas setting, because did you know, was that the plan to have, do you think, oh, this is going to be shown at Christmas in this country, and so we're going to make it a Christmas a part of the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the British tradition of having Christmas specials. I think they are a joyous thing. Some of my favourite TV moments have been in Christmas specials, the Royal Family Christmas specials, the Office Christmas specials, which I think are as close to perfect as specials could be. In all of the episodes we wrote of Gavin and Stacey, the Christmas special is the one that I am most proud of, and I think there's something very, very nice about being part of that Christmas scheduling.
I think it drove the creation of this series, weirdly.
Well, we were writing a homecoming story, a story about them being in witness protection, being
Christmas.
desperate to get home. And then it came about during that writing process that we would probably be doing this for Christmas time. And it was just the perfect...
Yeah.
Well, certainly when we went to BBC Two and said, because BBC Two, came to us and said, would you do another series? And we said, well, we'd love to, if we can figure out what it is, and then it sort of started to crystallise around Christmas, and BBC, we went to BBC Two and said, what about 2 1 hours for Christmas? And they really got behind it, and that sort of pushed us a bit forward, didn't it, really?
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, Christmas is about coming home, so it does, regardless of whether you're religious or not, it's, I suppose you could say one theme of Christmas is going home, being with family, and so it seemed to suit this story particularly well.
I haven't seen the second part, but I hope it gets really Christmassy.
Yeah, I just sort of dangled tinsel in the lens for 90% of it, so there's a fair amount of Christmas in there.
Let's throw it over to the Her Majesty's Press. Any questions from you guys? I'll give you much warning. Yes.
Yes, when we're do you think you might make a 3rd series after this one?
He's got a job.
A proper job.
So I think if we did, it would be after a pause. And who knows?
It might not be very long.
Essentially, if there's a 3rd series of The Wrong Man's,
the show is going to be cancelled in no time. So yes is the answer. We'll be back making another. I think when we talked about this,
half the budget.
We talked about this.
But we feel like we shouldn't do one soon anyway. Because story-wise,
how long before it starts to just become too much of a caper is. So if a story presented itself to us, if it landed in front of us, I would love to do. So I think we're more interested in the prospect of writing something else, and that might be a Wrong Man's, or that might just be something else. That is something that I think
how
we're both...
when 24 started, it had a voiceover over the opening credits where he said, "I'm Jack Bauer, and this is the worst day of my life." And then when they made another series, they realised they had to ditch the voiceover, because if they kept it, he would have to say, "I had a really bad day, but I didn't realise that this was going to be worse." And by series 5, I don't know what that voiceover would have been.
Ooh,
guys, sit down. And it feels a bit like that with this show, that although we are a comedy, you can't ask the audience to keep believing in these awful strokes of bad luck happening to them. And that's why it had to be a continuation of the first series for this one. And it feels like if they're going to have another awful thing happen to them, we should give them a little break first.
We hope when
let them settle into some sort of normality, so that it does make sense that that normality is then thrown into chaos.
It just depends whether an idea lands, which is all it's about anyway, is sort of going, one of us just might sit up in the night and write something down and call someone the next day and go, I think I've had an idea, I think I know what it might be. And that's something you can't ever sort of plan for, really. So,
And also, if we're lucky enough to be asked to do another one.
Good point.
yeah, it's not really our choice.
And you've just touched on your next job, James, and I wonder if you have anything else to say about it.
It's going to be a disaster. It's going to, yeah, I don't know.
Why is it a disaster?
Because why wouldn't it be? I'm from High Wycombe. Like, what's the chances of a chubby guy, and that's being generous to himself, going to America and hosting a talk show every night, and it being anything other than just a complete mistake? Like, it's so funny. The guy from CBS called the other day and said, could we cut together like a sizzle, they're trying for sponsorship for the show, a sizzle reel of like, you know, great moments and things, just moments in my career, just to show sponsors and things like that. So my friend Ben, who's going to exec the show, cut a thing together and we sent it to them, and they came back and went, yeah, that's great. Have you got any, this is just some business affairs guy, that's really good, it's great. Have you got any like stuff of you just, you know, interviewing someone? And we were like, no. That's our point. It doesn't exist. You're taking a huge risk. And he was, and even he was like, really? And we were like, yeah. And so, I'm look, this is always, all I've got to say on it is this. I'm looking forward to the adventure of it hugely. I'm going to try my absolute best to make a show that is warm and fun and, you know, makes America smile a bit whilst they fall asleep. And we, you know, I'm going to try my best. And I just see it as an adventure that I can't not go on. Like, who am I to say no to it? And I just came to the conclusion after talking about it with my wife and what it means for our family is that I would much rather regret doing something than not doing something, and I just have to try my best, but I'm not going with any illusion that this will be anything other than a complete disaster. And just remember that I called it first.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have to ask them. Maybe they're trying to kill it as a format. It did cross my mind.
She's actually buying into your story, by the way. She's like, why do you think they're taking that risk?
No, it did.
Shit, call everyone, it's going to be shit.
It did. No, but it did cross my mind that they might be going, we don't need another talk show at 12:30. We've got, you know, Letterman, Colbert's coming in 11:30. At 12:30, maybe, how can we just kill it off so we don't have to do this anymore? I know. Let's get that guy. So look, you know, I'm gonna love every second of it, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it the most fun show to watch, and really try and bring something fresh and original to that sort of TV landscape. But you know, I really do come back to the fact that I'm from High Wycombe, and why would it work? But yeah, that's literally all I have to say.
It'll be great.
Yes.
David from the Sunday Express. Could you just talk a little bit about how the writing relationship works between you? I mean, who does the pacing, or do you do it over Skype, or what happens?
Oh no, we can't write separately.
If we write separately, which we tried once, it takes so long to debate and explain
Hey, how you
to
doing?
each other
How's it
what
going? Then you just
that it's easier just to be in the room together and create it together. But also because it's so soon and play cricket in the corridor, you can't do that on Skype.
Right. So we sit in a room. We just sit in a room. We hired, you know, one of the most depressing office spaces you've ever seen. I've not been to the offices of the Sunday Express, but I imagine it's nicer than
really interesting. Yeah.
Matt types.
Lock yourself in and get on with it.
Matt types. I walk around.
But we swap as well. I mean, I do a fair bit of pacing as well. You don't do much typing, to be fair.
No, occasionally I'll type. Occasionally you'll go to the toilet and I'll try and surprise you with a nice line. But it's a lot of because of the pace of the show. Like, it's not, you know, you can't do 7 pages about people, you know, ordering a curry. Like that's like you can't kind of do those things. So it's a lot of saying the words what if, no, that's terrible, it's rubbish, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good window on our. I mean, the thing is, we sort of Sam and Phil are at the centre of it so much to the point they're almost in every scene. And so loads of it just comes out of just improvising in the room together and then writing down the best bits. And we kind of do that with all the characters. We just sort of take... I mean,
Once
because
it's
we're
plotted,
selfish actors, so we kind of just play all the parts in a room. It's the most fun bit, really.
Well, once we've got the plot down, the plot is the worst thing. And that was the hardest thing in Series 1. And the hardest thing in this as well is just plot and keeping the stakes up and keeping the momentum of it rolling forward so that it never really stands still.
And does it always work when you get on the set and you're doing it, or do you say, well, can we do this another way? Or
we play around quite a lot actually on set. I think that in a way that's an advantage of having written it, is you don't worry about changing it. You don't worry what the writer's going to think, because you know you are. So yeah, we do muck around with it a fair bit. The thing is,
never with
because
the
it's so
structure,
exactly
only with
because the plot is there, it means that within every scene, most of the scenes are quite short because it's so kind of quick. And within every scene there is a clear plot beat that you have to get across, and around that we know that we can kind of play around with it, and it's not going to mess with the structure. So we improvise and we try alternatives to certain lines, and then we play with them in the edit and see what's best. And Jim just throws lines at us from behind the camera, and a lot of those are the funniest lines in the show as well. That's all right.
Well, have you finished?
Cheers,
yeah, it's Julia Cutner and Freelance. Do you think with your move to America that, and following on from this, that you'll be spawning an American-US drama?
Oh, I would love.
Would you hope to?
Oh yeah, I love the idea of trying to write a show for America. I think certainly as a partnership, it's something we'd love to do. I think we're both encouraged by how well the show was received on Hulu. Like when it launched on Hulu, it was their #1 show for quite a long time, which is essentially that's your audience. So it would be great to try. It's all about the idea, you know, whether you have an idea that's good, but it would be nice to, yeah. But I mean, you really can't beat making a show for the BBC. You just can't. There is nowhere. I honestly don't think there's anywhere else in the world that would give you the support and creative freedom that we have on this show, or I've had on any other show that I've written on, where essentially what you get is, once they're in and they say, yes, we like this, it's just about saying, how can we fulfill your vision? How can we make the show you want to make? And this is the primest example of taking a show to Mark Freeland. We wrote a script on spec, and us being very, very clear about the show we wanted to make and the ambition we wanted to have and the scale of it that we wanted to have. And then what a great company like the BBC could do is go, okay, well, we're the BBC, this is, you know, our budgets are set, so I'm going to go and try and find some extra money just to make all we want to do is fulfill a creator's vision for the show. And that is, I don't know if making a show in America would ever give us that level of
You can't make that. You can't
freedom
make
and
this show.
support.
You can't make this show in America. That show could not have got made in its form that you see it in America.
Or even by like HBO?
Tonally,
HBO shows like
I don't think so. Certainly not the first series, the kind of 6 half hours. They just wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't. I know, and I've talked to them about other
We'd
shows.
have to do 10.
You
or
do
12.
10, and tonally it just would be different. I'm not saying in a bad way. It's just that show in its form, and it's amazing that Hulu have supported the show so passionately and their financial input. But you just couldn't make that show in America. So in terms of you guys writing something else, it would have to be something very different, I think.
Thank you. Yes.
Elliot from Martin Telly, knowing how well received the first series was, did that make it harder or easier to write the second series?
I mean, it's hard to. The genuine truth is neither, and I don't think people find that easy to believe, but all because we were really proud of it, and that was what we had to live up to, was that we'd done something that we worked really hard on and that came out very, very close to perfectly what we imagined, which is kind of miraculous in TV or film or anything. And so that it was our own level that we had to measure up to. I guess if anything for me slightly easier, because you know that basically there is an audience who like these characters and the tone of it.
And I think because we weren't in our heads, like we weren't going, we're making a second series of the show. Because we were going, we're carrying on. It's
more.
It's 2 more hours of the same story. So you know how much different can it, you know what I mean? So I think that helped, that we would say it's not like we also didn't have a massive gap between, you know, writing it and shooting it and starting plotting it again. So you're just carrying on the story. I think that helped very much, as opposed to sitting down and going, right, series 2, where are we? They're back in the office. What can, you know? So I think psychologically that helped a little bit more. Yeah.
Thank you. A couple more questions. Yeah.
I was interested because series 1 was 6.5 hours, but series 2 is 2-hour episodes. I mean, what made you decide to change the format?
I think because we wanted to make them special for Christmas. Like we wanted them to fit in that time, and then
also a lot of people had watched the first series in a kind of binge watch way. We were aware that loads of people had just consumed it whole or in big chunks, and that people seem to like doing that. So
I think it comes back, from my point of view, it comes back to story. You know, like I think the first series of The Wrong Man's was very much like they didn't know what was around every corner. So the episodes were almost like sort of Tintin books, in that they were like, each episode was like a vignette or a story in its own right. Because Sam and Phil are just trying to get through the day. Every day they're just trying to get through the day in series 1, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to do this because what the fuck's around the next corner? This story, when it reared its head, immediately had a kind of more dramatic arc to it, because you know very early on they set out their stall, we're going home. You know, Sam says to Phil, let's go home. And they know they've got this ticking clock of we need to get home by Christmas because Linda might not make it till Christmas. And so it immediately lent itself to that shape. And I think stories should just be in the shape that they deserve to be in. I think that's where TV can often be a better area to work in than film, because you can shape stories into the slots that you feel like they fit into. And I don't think things should be constrained by, well, typically this kind of show would be this kind of shape. And so it never really bothered me that we were making a second series, but it was a completely different shape. It just felt right for the story.
It's a much more linear story.
And although they play as 2 hours, we still sort of ramped them to 30-minute points, you know, because we felt like that's the thing with the show, was that it would ramp to a point and then it would ramp to another one, and those cliffhangers are part of what keeps that tension sort of bubbling. So I mean, I'm sure you must have noticed it then, it very much goes to a dong dong dong, and then you're down, you know, you're starting again almost, and that's
I mean, the depressing thing is you find yourself on the tube one day and you look over your shoulder and someone's got their iPhone in their headphones in, and you go, oh, they're watching The Wrong Man's, that's amazing. But they're also doing 15 other things. And like getting off the tube and pausing it, and you think, oh, I've spent so long crafting the pace of it, and the sound, we spend like so much time in this room, and like other places are making it so good. And people watch stuff at the pace they want to watch it, and that's the nature of the...
I'm just thrilled that anybody would be watching it.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm, you know...
And they're watching 200 million films for the same way.
Yeah, oh, of course they are. Of course they are, and the moment you forget that, you're screwed as a creator of stuff. So you have to remember that your audience is king, and their attention span is king. And we just try and make, you know, a story that's as good as possible and holds people's attention. But I understand that people might watch it in even these hours. A lot of our audience will be on iPlayer, and they'll watch them in a 20-minute chunk over lunch. You know, that's fine.
One more question. We've all had one already. So yeah, there you go.
Well, I'll share it with
Go,
you.
go ahead, Julie.
Did you enjoy the violence in it, and did you get really battered?
Well, Matt,
I got a fair old beating. I'd done a play, literally finished the play on the Saturday and then flew out to start shooting a couple of days later. And in that play I was getting punched in the arm on the same place in every performance. And I'd said to the actor, don't hold back, particularly because it just will look shit. So, you know, it's fine. And I got quite a bruise and it was starting to really hurt after a month. And then Bertie in that scene in the shower picked exactly that spot. And also, as we've said, he's very dedicated to his craft. So he punched me as hard as he felt Nathan Cross would punch someone on the arm. I really...
Also, Sam, like Matt's character, definitely is the recipient of more pain.
Someone accidentally kicked me in the back when they were supposed to, when they're kicking me on the floor.
It's very hard to say this without giving away a major spoiler from the next episode, which you haven't seen. So I'll try to say it without giving it away. But these two pull off a stunt in the next hour, which caps anything we've done before in the show, and they did it themselves, and my hats are off to them for it. But it's bigger than anything you've seen in that air. It's very hard to say what it is without giving it away, but these guys do a lot of it for real, and they put themselves through a lot of pain for the show, and all credit to them.
Tom Cruise, very
Not far off.
Tom Cruise.
You are Tom Cruise.
I just wondered that you look like you handled James the forklift pretty easily. That was a lot of Top Gear skill there, wasn't it?
Well, I went for a morning's training at a this forklift training place in Acton, and the guy who was teaching me, I still could not fathom. He just kept asking which factory I would be working in and what kind of forklift I'd be using, and I just kept saying, no, it's a TV show, and he'd go, no. So first he'd go, so where is it you're working for? And I go, oh, it's the BBC. And he'd go, which depot? And I said, no, we're filming a show, in South Africa. And he's like, what do you mean? What are you talking? And the more I carried on talking, the more he would just look more confused. So in the end, I just started saying, oh yeah, no, I'm just starting out as a depot driver, and really, yeah. But I did.
I've never received a funnier video clip in my life than when I was out in Johannesburg in pre-production. James was in Acton, and he just sent this email to me and Matt saying, "Is this the kind of thing?" was the subject line. "Is this the kind of thing?" Question mark. And that was a video clip from James. I open it. It's just an empty, like an industrial yard, just a shot of a yard. Then suddenly, beep, 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 and this forklift that reverses into shot with James in a high-vis vest and a hard hat. I never laughed as much.
I was going that, why do I have to wear the vest? There is nobody here.
And you can just hear the person holding the camera going.
Yeah. So if the CBS show doesn't work out, you've got a new career.
It's good to have something to fall back on. That's the truth of it. It's what Mr. Beard always used to say at school, and I'm sticking true to it now.
Mr. Beard.
Mr.
Yeah, on that note, thanks so much.
Thank you, boys. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks so
James,
much.
Matt and Jim, thanks for coming.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.